But yeah, we lost to the Mets in the CS. I think in 5. We just couldn't hit.
Dang. In the DS, you said.
No, I
DS.
think it was the CS. I'm pretty sure it was the CS.
Really? Last year?
No, no, because the Mets played the Dodgers. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. In
yeah,
the
it was the
DS. Yeah,
DS.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was the
Okay.
DS. Yeah.
Fuck, dude. Hmm. I wish the Mets would have beat the Dodgers. I was rooting for them so fucking bad, man.
I know. We
Or
actually
even
did. I
y'all,
forgot.
like.
We got Luzardo too, the pitcher from the Marlins,
Oh, really?
the lefty starter. He's solid.
I don't think I heard of him before.
He's bounced around a little bit. He was like third or fourth in Cy Young the year before last year. He got Tommy John last year in like late April,
Hmm.
so he missed like all last year. But the year before that, I think he was third or fourth in Cy Young. Jesus Luzardo.
Yeah. You think Otani's gonna have some trouble this year with his stuff? His shoulder injury he got in the playoffs?
I forgot he had that. I think it's his non-throwing shoulder though. Pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's his left. He's a righty, right? So it's
Yeah, he throws
his left
righty.
shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, he bats
I think it's
right. Does he bat righty?
no. He hits lefty, throws righty.
Oh shit. I don't, I'm trying to remember because I went to the World Series game and I remember looking at like watching it and it was like I remember him fucking with his shoulder, but I can't remember
Yeah,
which
I
one
think
it
he
was.
slid. Yeah, I think it was his non-throwing.
Bro, that World Series game was crazy, dude.
Yeah, that had to be pretty sick.
Dude, it was like I'll never forget that day. It was insane.
Yeah, bro.
After the
That's
game, all the Dodgers fans were talking shit, and I was like, all right, like I'm keeping my mouth shut because we're down.
Mhm.
But I was just thinking to myself, like, man, if we could just pull a comeback off and just even make him sweat, push it to 7, and then Judge dropped that ball, I was like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, yeah,
That was it, man.
yeah. It was unfortunate. And it sucks to his judge too, because you would expect him to get that.
All right. Anyone else, they'd have been crucified, but everyone was like, oh, it was
That's
Judge.
true.
You know?
That's true. Yeah,
Anyone else, they'd have been kicked off the team instantly.
yeah, for sure.
But so what inspired you to like first pursue baseball? Like how long ago did this kind of go on for you?
Oh, so man, I started playing. It's so funny. The first sport I really ever even got attracted to was baseball. So my dad's coworker, as like a gift for me being born, he bought me like a little styrofoam bat and a glove. And it's funny because all my baby pictures, it's that bat and glove are there.
Nice.
But as far as actually playing, I got started playing. They let me start a year early at T-ball at my township. I'm assuming just probably they needed numbers or whatnot. So I started playing T-ball at 3, and then I just fell in love with it. Played throughout my whole life. There came a time where it's actually funny. So I played quite a few sports growing up, but there was a time where my dad and I were like training out at the local field, and we got done hitting, and we were gathering up the balls, and he kind of like wanted to put it into perspective how hard it would be to like go pro at something. So I think I would say I was about had to be 12 or 13. He's like, Scott, I know you really love sports, and we've talked about how you want to be like a pro athlete. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's going to have to be a time where like you choose one, and I will do everything I can to help you make it in that one sport. Just because of like, for a parent, it's not exactly cheap to play all those sports and
Oh
play them
yeah, definitely.
competitively.
Dude, so
Yeah,
expensive.
so yeah, so basically there came a time where I was around 11 or 12, and he was just like, I'll do whatever I can to help you reach the professional level at whatever sport you pick. And I love baseball at the time. I played soccer, basketball, hockey, a little bit of hockey,
He's probably glad you didn't
and
pick
just
hockey.
love. I
It's
love
so
hockey,
expensive,
man.
dude.
Yeah, ice hockey I hear is quite the bill. But yeah, so loved it early on, and then I really made the decision that I wanted to shoot for the big leagues around, I would say, 11,
hmm
probably my best guess there.
Dude, that's I feel like everyone who is a professional athlete or has like gone up that road, they've always played multiple sports, and you got to like
Hmm.
pick a sport, and then I feel like no matter what sport you would have picked, I feel like you would have been pretty successful at. Do you feel the same way? Because and I say that because like Aaron Judge, obviously this that guy is like a freak athlete, and not everyone is like him, but just like there's so many athletes that play a variety of sports and they just choose the one that they like the best, and you're like, well, crap, he how would he have been as a a football player or whatever? Do you think you would have made it as far into like the semi pros or whatever with another sport?
It's tough to say, just because so much happens from like that age where I decided until it's finally time to go pro. So it really is tough to say. Like, so like to put that into perspective, tongue tied, put into perspective, I actually was not the best at baseball out of all the sports I played when I was younger. I was definitely way better at basketball and way better at soccer. But then, like I said, you grow a little bit. When I grew, I hit a growth spurt. I wasn't as fast as I was. So soccer, I wasn't able to play as good on the wing. I was a front line on the wing.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped playing soccer in high school. Basketball, I wasn't as quick anymore because I got lanky. And I know that's sometimes good in basketball, but it's not like I was like six
Yeah,
eight,
you want
six
to put
nine.
on
I was
weight
only
too, though. Yeah.
yeah, I was only 5'8", 5'9" my freshman year. So, but that was from like 5'4", 5'5". So I wasn't quick at all either. So it's tough to say, really. I know some people are just blessed and are great at any sport they pick up, but it really is tough to say.
Yeah. Was there like a pivotal moment um, in high school or anything like that that really contributed to you like getting drafted? Something that like you could look back on and be like, man, like this was if it wasn't for this one moment or anything, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
Um, it's actually because I faced a lot of adversity during this a few years of my baseball career. So when I first started, like I said, 3, 4 years old, I was always a little bit advanced just because my dad was really helpful with working out with me and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I got to a point where, like I said, I grew a little bit. I got a little slower, things like that. So for a few years there, from I want to say 12 to about 14, um, I went through a lot of adversity. Like these travel teams that I was playing on, they started bringing in kids to replace me, kind of like pushed me out of my spot a little bit. My high school coach, there was a span where I pitched varsity my freshman year, but I always wanted to be more of a hitter, a position player. So I just hated being able to pitch and then have to sit for 5 games and not be able to help the team. So I
Right.
really wanted to be a position player at that level too. And he kind of put it in nice terms. Told me if I wanted to play the field, I should think about transferring. So
Oh damn.
that really that really that adversity kind of like fired me up. Maybe it was because I was, like I said, I wasn't the best at baseball at all the sports I played, so I wasn't used to facing adversity in those other sports really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I once that happened, it kind of like
And that was in high school?
yeah, like my freshman year of high school
Oh
is
damn.
when I had that talk with, or I'm sorry, my sophomore year, because I had hurt my arm and couldn't really pitch anymore, so I wanted to still help the team out hitting and playing the field and that. But and then it started a little early with travel ball because I was a late bloomer. Um, I was only about 5 foot, like I said, 5'6" when I graduated 8th grade, and then at that time, guys are growing. So like I was one
Yeah.
of the smallest kids in my freshman class at like 5'6", 5'7". So they were bringing in bigger guys on the travel team to replace me that could hit a little further, were a little faster, a little more mature.
Yeah. So when
Um,
after you pitched, what did you play? What position did you go to in the field?
So I started in the outfield just because I'm left-handed. It's kind of, I'm a little limited. So I started in the outfield. I always played first base growing up when I didn't pitch,
Mm-hmm.
and center field. So it wasn't like it was new to me going out there. I always hitting stuff on my younger teams. So But when I first finally broke into the varsity lineup in high school was my junior year, and it was in the outfield.
No doubt. Did you kind of like spring into action in your junior year? Like you just started crushing it, or
That is kind of what happened. When that injury to my elbow happened, my dad kind of he stuck to his word, and he was really helpful and kind of resetting my sights. Like we sat down, and he was like, I think you're gonna be a tall kid. You're probably gonna have some size to you. He's like, I think you could probably make it as a hitter and a player too. So he's like, why don't we really get after this thing? And we credit to my dad again. He bought a batting cage out in the backyard, and that summer, sophomore year into junior year, we hit the batting cage in the backyard 4 days a week for at least an hour and a half. And
dude?
I want to say like that's really, really when I turned the curve in like my development, and I really started seeing results. And then my junior year, yeah, I think I hit 390 or 4 to 410 somewhere in that range, and then I had 10 home runs, which was good for like I think top five in the state or something like that.
That was your junior year,
Yeah, yeah,
dude. That's gnarly, man. That's like straight reps right there, dude. Increase
yeah. It was
increase
crazy.
your reps, and you see a positive impact. That's say it's pretty sound advice too, man. Just whatever you want to do, throw yourself into it. Solid.
Yeah, definitely.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and it takes a village too. That's what I like to say. So I know some kids like to be a little hard headed, and but you really need to accept help. Like I said, I got lucky that my dad had a job where he could be home on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we had the 2 days on the weekend. So that definitely played a big part um, with everything.
Word. I think like every success story that you like people hear for sports and stuff, especially, it's like, yeah, just kind of what you said, like 4 or 5 days a week for an hour or two, just every day out there doing it. Next thing you
Yeah,
know, boom, you're hitting 10 home runs. It's pretty dope, dude.
yeah.
So then your senior year, obviously more of the same. You just kept crushing it, and then you went to college, played ball at one
Yes.
school, and then you transferred to Florida.
hmm So senior year was tough for me again. It was another year of adversity for me personally. And again, that's why I kind of think that I was able to keep going just because I was already used to it at that point from a young age. Senior year, I had another really, really good year. I was making it to that summer after my junior year. There's like all these things in the travel baseball circuit, like tournaments and showcases that you get invited to, and then you kind of get on like the MLB scouts radar. So junior going into senior year, I was getting invited to all the top stuff, like these. It was like an all-star game at Fenway Park where you got to wear Red Sox jerseys,
Yeah, that's
and
dope.
um, other team wore Yankees jerseys, and it was all like the
Boy,
top prospects from the Northeast. Yeah, it was incredible. There's another showcase down in like South Carolina I went to
how'd you
a
do in
few
the
years
Fenway
tournament.
game?
I did really well actually. So I like it didn't show up in the stat sheet, but that's actually how I like got a lot more pro interest. I was 0 for 2, but I smoked two balls. Like they really didn't take exit velocities or whatnot back then, but
Yeah,
they would have definitely been 100 or better. Smoked two balls off two of like the top pitchers at the event, and that even though didn't really get the results, still turned a lot of heads just because baseball is a game of failure. So these guys, even when you're failing, these scouts are watching and seeing like how you're failing
right.
and how you're feeling it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
hard
but
hit balls are hard hit balls, man.
yeah, but then back to like that adversity. I was going to all this stuff, doing all these big events, started getting a ton of questionnaires about that 2010 draft that was coming up after my senior year. Like I want to say I had 15 or 16 different letters from teams where it was just kind of asking you like, oh, what's your interest if you get picked? How much money would it take? All that kind of stuff, which is
Hmm.
when you start getting those letters in high school, it's like a pretty strong chance you're getting drafted. So,
Damn.
um, senior year came, I had another really, really good year. I hit well over 400, 14 home runs. again, that was good for, I think, top three in the state, maybe. But then again, I was expecting to hear my name called in that draft, and even had some teams like tell me, "Hey, if you're here, we'll probably pick you up," and then it just didn't happen. So
How do you get
that
those
was a
calls from the teams? Like, how does that work? Like, they're just like reaching out to you and they're like calling you on the phone, calling your dad. Like, how does that work?
so they see you at these events that you play at on the travel ball scene. It's not really you don't really get seen in high school ball as much anymore. At least when I was in high school, you it was more the travel scene. I think scouts are starting to come back to the high school scene, but
Hmm.
so like it would start at those showcases and those big tournament events on travel ball where you would get seen and kind of get on scouts radar. But then your senior year, the pro scouts will come if there's like somebody who's already got interest or somebody who's really good. And our high school team was loaded. We had I think 8 Division 1 players.
Damn.
So yeah, we were solids, and I would 3 ended up getting drafted. So that we had a decent amount of pro scouts at our high school games. But again, they were because they saw us already on the summer circuit. So they would talk to us after high school games and kind of tell us things like, "Oh, hey, we anticipate you. You're this round range, yada yada," and just kind of things like that. They're trying to like interview you too and get your makeup.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That must be kind of weird, dude. Like, how does that feel as a kid? You're just like getting hit up by scouts. It must be kind of wild.
It's crazy. Looking back on it, like I was almost just because like I said, it was what I wanted to do so bad, and I was so focused on it. It was like looking back on it, I was almost like a robot. Like it really didn't phase me how you and I would like sit here now talking about it.
Yeah.
Think like
You're
now
just in
looking
there,
back on
like you
them,
knew you were made. You're like, that's it. I'm doing this. This is my dream thing.
I guess yeah, and it was just like I didn't want anything else. Like like my identity was a baseball player, so like it's just all I really ever knew. So, but looking back on it now, it's crazy. Yeah, like 17-year-old kid talking to these 35, 40-year-old guys, basically like a almost pitching yourself, or sort of like a job interview, I guess.
Right.
But it can go completely wrong if you say the wrong things.
Yeah,
But
true. You see Moneyball, right?
yeah, yeah, plenty of
What are
times.
your thoughts on that whole like they kind of really capture the scouting aspect of how like they were like Billy, you're gonna be our number one man, this is it, and then like he just didn't pan out to be what they thought or what they told him he would be. What is your thought?
That's
Like,
a lot of
how do you feel about that
that's a
movie?
lot of baseball,
Really?
because it's all about projectability. So, like I said, they try to get these if they can. Obviously, high school player is more valuable to in the draft than a college player, 100%. So if they can get you at 17 and kind of mold you, that's what they want, right? And you'll obviously have a much longer career. That's a 5 year, 4 or 5 year jump you're getting. Normally, when you get drafted at 17 and you're like a top round pick, you're seeing the big leagues by like 19, 20. Whereas if you get drafted at 21, 22 out of college, by the time you're getting there, you're 23, 24. Um, that's kind of how that goes.
Yeah.
So you're much more valuable as a high school kid to them. So it's crazy.
Yeah. Do you think did you ever have that feeling that what the scouts what Billy Bean's resentment towards them was like, did you ever feel anything like that? Like, did they ever make you feel a certain way and then you kind of wish you'd have done something differently?
Um, as far like what give me an example. I kind of forget
So
that
like, so they
exact part of the movie.
yeah, so they amped him up like, oh, we're gonna give you the signing bonus. Join the Mets out of high school, and his side is like, I probably should have went to college and developed more, and maybe I would have been better for it. Instead, you put me in the major leagues, and I washed out because I wasn't ready.
Yeah, actually, that's a lot. I kind of agree with that a lot now, especially even going through it. I definitely think that it's all about timing. Now, some kids are ready at 17. Like you do see some 17-year-olds that make it by 18, 19. Some are, but some aren't. Like I honestly, me even at 21, I was not mentally prepared um, to make it, and that's a lot of why I think I got released. Like my mental approach was the same it's always been since high school. Like I was just trying to hit a fastball as far as I could, and it
Right.
gets you to a certain point. But once everyone's really good and the skill level evens out, it's not that easy.
Yeah, facts.
And you can't
Baseball's
really be
so
a one.
hard.
Yeah, you can't really be a one trick pony. Like I needed to. I didn't know about sitting certain pitches and certain counts.
Right.
Just things like that. You get so much information online now that Instagram wasn't really that big either back when I was playing. So I even just learned a ton just from listening to major leaguers and stuff on social media. Um, that I think now I'm like, damn, like that makes so much sense. If I could have just knew that back then, who's to say it would have been different? Maybe it would have, maybe it wouldn't have. But it really is all about timing and like your where you are developed mentally as well as physically on
Yeah.
if you make it. And sometimes guys like Billy Bean, when they're drafted at 17, they do, and sometimes they don't because, like I said, it's when you're picking a kid at 17. You're trying to predict how he's going to be from 26 is your prime to like 31. You gotta be really good. So that's why it works sometimes. And that's why sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I feel that. What having gone through it, what advice would you have for like specifically to a kid like getting talked to by scouts? Like nothing, one little line of advice that you'd give somebody.
Um, I would definitely say work on what you're not good at. Yeah, definitely that because that's something that translates to everything you do pretty much.
So you'd say that for like dealing with scouts specifically?
Yeah, yeah. When not even just in, I'm speaking more about like from a performance level because the
Oh, I
scout
got you. Yeah, yeah.
when they come and see you the first time, they obviously want to see you develop and work on and be better as you keep progressing. So, say they came to see you your first time, you weren't really good at fielding, right? But you hate fielding. You got to work on fielding because they want to see you be better at fielding next time they come, or you're not going to get picked.
Mm,
Just as far as talking to a scout is, if that's kind of more what you meant, I would definitely say to be yourself because that's what they want to see at the end of the day, and definitely show that you love the game. They want guys who are going to be able to deal with failure. Like I said, it's a game where you're failing 7 out of 10 times, so they want to see how you're dealing with failure. And most guys that really truly love the game deal with that failure very easily and kind of have that mentality. Hey, it's just a game. I could
right.
come out tomorrow and go 3 for 3. It's not the end of the world.
Right, right, yeah. Like how well you roll with the punches and come out ready to go. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I kind of looked you up, man. Obviously, I was digging, looking up your stats, dude. It's funny
Nice.
because I've known you for a little bit now, but I never really knew that you played baseball until we really started talking a little bit more. Not playing games and video games and stuff. But so when I was doing my research, um, I noticed in when you like transferred to Florida, like your
Mm-hmm.
average jumped up in like 2012. It went from like 270 to like I think like 315 or something like that. The next
Mm-hmm.
year, like what adjustments did you make to kind of like make that big jump?
So I would definitely attribute that to just getting more reps in the game and a little bit more experience. So my first year of college at Elon, I didn't get many opportunities. I think I had 35 at bats, I think, which in a 60 game season, that's not many at all. And then my 2012 season, I think it was, is that first one at Florida Tech, where it was 277. That's where I really got like consistent at bats, and I got to, you get settled into a game kind of, and you can just you play more freely, things open up for you, and I think that's kind of where I really started to get comfortable. And then that junior year, I made a couple swing changes, and I also, again, I just think it was more reps at that point because, kind of like I was talking about a little bit earlier, I really wasn't mentally where I needed to be. Again, it was just see a fastball, hit a fastball as far as I can.
Mm,
Um, so which is not good. That's why I'm kind of laughing about it, like
yeah.
thinking back now. So it was more. I definitely think it was more reps and a slight swing adjustment from my junior to senior year that I made that really helped me take off that junior year.
No doubt. You switched from Elon, so you noticed you weren't getting the reps, and you decided you're like, I'm done with this. Like, how did that kind of work out for you?
That was another tough situation with a lot of adversity. So I got there. From what they told me, I was the highest scholarship in that 2011 incoming freshman class. But then I got there and it was just a really weird feel from the get go. I just didn't get much opportunity. I don't really think I was the type of player that that head coach liked, which is it's crazy. My recruiting process was looking back now, not
Mm.
really. I didn't do the smartest. I make the smartest decision during my recruiting process. So when I was being recruited by Elon, I got recruited by their hitting coach and their position defense coach. The head coach, Mike Kennedy, was the pitching coach of Team USA's collegiate team,
Oh
and
wow.
during the summer, he was doing that. So these two coaches were doing the recruiting. So I got there, and I didn't meet. That was my first time meeting the head coach. Was my first day on campus in 2011.
Mm.
So um, didn't I just was not really a good fit for the head coach. Looking back, obviously, I should have done more homework, met the head coach, not committed on the spot when they offered me. But I fell in love with the school, fell in love with the field, and all that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how that happened.
I feel
Then
like
after that season was over, I kind of realized that I probably would have to go somewhere else to get a little better opportunity.
yeah, I feel like that's kind of like an unfair shake like towards you. Like I don't know, man. You go to this school, you're a freaking kid, dude. Like this coach should know better. You're literally a kid out of high school. You don't like if he wanted to meet you that bad, I feel like he should have hit you up and been like, "Hey, let's meet." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if that's the reason why he's holding a grudge and you're not getting playing time because he doesn't like you because you didn't really make that gesture. It's like I don't know. I think that's kind of silly. I hope that's not the reason why. You know?
There was definitely more to it. It just wasn't a good first impression because to him, like I said, it was his first time seeing me play ever. So I was, like I said, I wasn't the fastest guy. Like I wasn't a max effort guy ever. Like I feel, and I'll even tell a kid today, unless that's your game, like being a speed player, baseball's a game of finesse. It's not a max effort sport unless you're like a guy who needs to steal 50 bags or because you're 5'8" and you hit 260, 270, you don't drive the ball. Like it's not really a power 100% effort game. So I played the game in like almost my own speed, and he kind of took it as being lazy. And
Mm,
he was a really strict military type guy. So like
mm,
it wasn't really a good fit. I was like
I
really
got you.
laid back. He was really intense. He
Yeah.
thought I was being lazy. It was just my way of playing. And like I said, the first time he really saw me play. So it was
Right.
definitely a multitude of things. And I'm sure I didn't help myself being a freshman, showing up exactly on time to everything, things like that.
Yeah, I
But
got you.
it definitely wasn't something like where you could look back and be like, oh, Scott was disobedient, insubordinate, showing up late. Like it wasn't like that. Looking back now from a mature perspective, I can admit that I probably was doing just enough to get by, and
Right.
he probably wanted to see more than that. But it was definitely a few things. It wasn't just a
No doubt.
bad first impression.
Yeah,
But
I got you. So back to 2013 with Florida, your on base percentage, I think it was like in the 440s. Slugging was like 560, something like that. Um, what approach did you take to like be on base as consistent as you were that year?
definitely, definitely took the mindset of don't try to do too much. I had a really good coach at that school who had some professional experience. He won a national championship in college at Division II level when he was there. So I really took everything he said to heart and tried to apply it. And if it worked, I kept it. If it stuck, or if it didn't work, I let it go. But one of the things he really stressed to me was don't try to do too much, and that's definitely something that played into my those senior year numbers. I didn't chase as much, so that's why the on base percentage went up instead of striking out, I was walking, um, and then just getting definitely extra hits helped both the average and the on base percentage. And again, that was a lot to his credit. There was so many times I can look back at that junior year
Mm-hmm.
where I had 3-1, 3-0, and they gave me the green light and let me hit. And I remember just because of what my coach told me, just trying to be nice and smooth, don't try to do too much, and just taking singles and doubles in the left center field gap instead of trying to muscle up and hit the ball 375 feet to right field and count it out to second base.
Hmm.
So that definitely helped me in those aspects.
That makes sense. Do you think the maturity from even the years prior, like the year prior to that point, you think you matured any at all? Like
Definitely,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Um,
no doubt.
yeah, the adversity always helps. Just growing up, living on your own, like you said, you're kind of thrown to the wolves. You're a 17-year-old kid going across the country who's I never really. I mean, I a couple times did my laundry before that. Never really had to cook for myself.
Right.
Things like that. So you're kind of thrown to the wolves, and you have to really grow up kind of quickly. So that yeah, definitely grew up a little bit physically, mentally during those years for sure.
Yeah. So then, all right. So you get drafted by the Marlins. I think you got drafted like what was your draft? I have it somewhere. I can't. I don't have it pulled up.
2013 draft. I was picked in the 14th round.
14th round. I had it here, man. I don't know. I don't have it prepared. But oh, there it is. Yeah, 14th round. Yeah, 2010 grad, first base outfield, Maple Shade, New Jersey.
Yep.
So when you first got like your first season, what the team is called Batavia? How do you say it?
Batavia.
Batavia. So
Mm,
so you got to that team, and your first year compared to your college year, obviously the numbers dipped. You're kind of getting used to everything. Like, what was the biggest challenge transitioning from like NCAA ball to the pro, like semi pro level, or like minor league?
it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. It's as simple as the players are better, the velocities are a little higher, and it's as complex as kind of like I was talking about earlier, where you really need to have a mental side of the game. Like thinking back again, I'm up there facing pitchers from some were at like LSU and some were from D3 schools, but at that level, it's all guys that know how to get ahead of you mentally. So, kind of like I was saying, these guys are up there. They're seeing me if I'm out in front on a pitch, they're throwing another off speed pitch or two off speed pitches until I make an adjustment
Mm,
where I was still up there. Oh, I'm just going to swing out of my shoes and think this
mm,
is a fastball. That was a lot of it. Like I know it sounds kind of like, dude, how stupid were you? But when you are so successful with something for so long, it's hard to break that mindset and that habit. And I always got by and was able to hit for power, which is waiting for fastballs and hitting them to right field
right.
until I really got to that professional level where they can locate and get you out and pitch to your weaknesses instead of them making mistakes. They limit their mistakes. That's what makes them so much better.
Is that why? Like, the first thing I thought when you said it was like it's like a cat and mouse game almost. They're waiting for you to adjust, so then they switch it up, and it's like, is that a part of the game that like you really love? Is that something that you think really appealed to you? You're like, man, it's like literally a game of who's gonna break and who's gonna do what first. It's like me when I hear that, it's like it makes me love baseball when you talk
Yeah,
about it like that.
that's what makes it amazing, man. It's really a pitch to pitch game at that level. You really have to adjust, like I said, pitch to pitch. So, for example, right, like, and I know this now because I've coached and I've talked to guys and I've learned as I didn't then. It's like I said, if I back then, if I'm late on a fastball and I foul it off to the third base side for me because I'm a lefty,
Hmm.
that pitcher they're going to keep hammering fastballs because if you think about it, right, and if they throw off speed pitch, and I'm late on that fastball, that off speed pitch is going to play into my bat speed now. Whereas I was late on that fastball, I'm going to be right on time for that off speed pitch and crush it. And like those are things that I had no idea of back then.
Right.
Whereas like now, yeah, it really it opens a whole new like love of baseball. Really, it's awesome.
Heck yeah. So you obviously noticed that stuff. I mean, before I even get to that, so you went through your first season there. Obviously, you're in the minor leagues now. how
Hmm.
is the coaching involved in getting you to realize this stuff and like, hey, you do this, do that? Like, how is that kind of unfolding, and how are you kind of in that experience for the first time? Like, you dreamed of this moment, and now you're getting coached by minor league coaches. You know, how's that?
That's what's really interesting about the game. So I say back then, like it was so long ago, but it kind of really is like a new era of baseball with social media. So back then, everything was real, like gate kept and hush hush. Like information was not easy to get. Like, and at that level, it was almost more like baseball was a game of a rite of passage and earning and doing your time as opposed to the best players play. So for example,
Really?
like I got there, yeah, it's insane. So like I got there, no coaching. You don't get any coaching at all. It's literally sink or swim. It,
What?
it's no, I'm dead serious. Now, don't get me wrong. If you were a first round pick, you would get extra work. You would get the coordinators.
Ah,
That's what they're called. They have hitting coordinator and a defensive coordinator, and they rotate at all the levels. They'll spend like a week at your AAA affiliate, a week at your AA, et cetera, et cetera. They would come and work with all the first rounders and stuff like that. But you weren't a guy that was making over 500,000. You were not getting treatment like that. And
yo,
it,
that's
it was
crazy, dude. So you're
information.
grinding. You're like, you're going there. You're like, you are literally grinding, surviving, trying to do what you can do with zero help.
It's
That's
you
fucking
versus it's
crazy.
you versus everybody. It's you versus your own teammates. Your own teammates don't even want to see you do good because they don't want you to go up over them.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's nuts. It
I,
really is.
I feel like I'm surprised, but for some reason, a part of me feels like I shouldn't really be surprised that that's how it is. That's fucked, dude.
Yeah. Whereas now it's like I said, information's so easily accessible. Like I see videos now of teams where it really looks like they are getting coached and they are really getting developed. Whereas
You didn't get that opportunity, really, yeah.
no, and I don't know if it was just a Marlins thing or I've talked to other people and they said it was similar, but yeah, back until like 2016, 2015, it was such a different era of baseball. It really was.
Dang. I feel like I don't know anything about anything at that level, but I would say I would like to imagine the better organizations, and I say better meaning like more successful, more money in it, whatever it is, would do better at those levels. You know what I'm saying? I would
Yeah,
I would like to
and
imagine that, but
yeah, you're right. Like the stories that you would hear, success stories, I guess I could say, of like organizations that where guys loved it and thought they did get a little better. Where, like you said, it was always the ones that were either winning or spending. Like the
right.
Yankees had a great reputation. The Cardinals, even though they're not big spenders, they all were always in NLCSs and World Series in the '90s, 2000s, early 2010s. They're kind of like they were kind of looked at like almost the Patriots of the football
Mm,
world for a little while. So like you would hear a ton of success stories out of there. Um, Dodgers always a good one,
right.
things like that. But then yeah, you would hear some stories of similar to mine with teams like the Royals, Pirates, Reds, things like that. It really, like you said, kind of it was that's what you were seeing at the top was kind of running through the bottom at those organizations, but not so much with the others.
Dang. So then the next year, your second year, you played 94 games, which is a lot more than you played the first year season.
Hmm.
So obviously, the more games you played impacts, you know, your stats and how much more pitches you're seeing, the better you're going to do. Playing that many games, how did that impact your approach, but also like the endurance aspect of it, playing at that next higher level?
So that season was that was a crazy season. That was my first year of independent ball, and I played on a team that actually didn't have a home field. So we lived kind of just like in a with a host family is what they call them, or these families that just take players in and kind of like give you a place to stay and whatnot. So we
Interesting.
lived in like this a central location, and we would stay there if we had like 3 or 4 days off and then played a close opponent. But then we would go on trips where we would go like 5, 6 hours on a bus and then go to 4 hours to a different spot. So that was like insane. I can't even really, my experience there isn't going to be like your normal baseball players because they obviously have a home stadium and have plenty of time at home stuff. But
Right.
that was insane. It was really hard to do, live in basically a hotel for 3 or 4 months, and have to get up and play every day. But you kind of just kind of grind through it mentally. You kind of remember like why you started playing in the first place. You love the game, and then you have to be really good at leaving it between the lines. Like when you, that was another issue that I had problems with when I was my first couple years, my first year in pro ball, with the Marlins, my second season with the Marlins was I couldn't let it go. Like if I had a bad game, I was up till 3 or 4 a.m. Just like practicing my swing in the mirror, doing something stupid, thinking about the game, and you never really ever recover if that's what you're doing because
Really,
you're up
yeah.
till 4 a.m. You're not getting proper sleep. Your mind's going. You're never giving yourself a mental break. You're showing up fatigued the next day to the field. It's just you really have to be mature in that aspect of leaving it on the field when the game's over because it's a job now. Like it's you can connect it to your not you and I's average job now. It's like
Yeah.
we don't want to think about work when we're at home now, whereas like that's all I was doing then. So you gotta really leave it at the office, I guess you could say,
Yeah, yeah, I
to
got you.
be able to recover. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my bad. I said 94 games. That was when you were with the Grays.
Mm-hmm.
So your first season in the minors, you had 142 plate appearances, and then the next year it kind of dropped down a little bit, and then the next year you went to the Grays. Um, so how did I mean, that's the most games. 94 games is probably the most. Is that the most games you played in a season ever?
Yeah, definitely.
And with that environment, that's pretty insane. Um,
Yeah. Not having a home field and a place to rest is yeah, it's nuts.
yeah, that's insane. And that was with the Grays, you're saying?
Yeah, there was actually TMZ followed us and did a documentary on it. It's actually still, I think the article's still out there online somewhere, but yeah, it was crazy. It was all through the central part of the country, like Illinois, um, St. Louis, Missouri. Where else did we go? Michigan. They had a team in Michigan. Yeah, it was
Wow,
Kentucky. It was wild with no home stadium.
that's pretty insane. Yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
jumped ahead a little bit there, but I guess that's cool. Because one of my questions was going to be like independent ball versus affiliated minor league ball. Like, where did your mindset shift any when you ended up doing that? When you left out of the minors and went over to independent?
Um, Not really. Just there's a little more pressure, I guess you could say, just because it's hard to get back to affiliated ball once you're let go
Hmm.
and you know your window is closing. So like there is a little more pressure, but it's self inflicted pressure really.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
still just have to go out there and play. But yeah, your mindset changes in that aspect. If you go out there and like treat it like it's not affiliated ball and like half ass it, you're gonna be done in a week because the way that contracts and stuff work in that game, if you're not putting up numbers in independent ball, you're cut in a week because of the way the money works. And even more so, it's an issue than in affiliated ball because they don't have the money to throw around in independent ball. You're not making that much money. They don't have that much money.
Right. They're not playing
So kind of
games. Yeah.
yeah, what I mean by that is like they have two tiers. It's a rookie tier and an experienced tier. Rookie tier, it's like you don't really get paid much. It's like I think it's like $200 every 2 weeks. So you get a little leeway if you're a rookie on or a rookie status, but then if you're experienced, which is most guys that have played affiliated ball before or played at another independent team, you're making like 600-700 a week
Hmm.
or even more depending on the team. I'm sorry, per paycheck.
Hmm.
Um, depending on which team. So if you're not putting up numbers and you're on an experienced contract, you're done. Because like I said, they don't. That's a ton of money to them. $700 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
Shit.
if you have that mindset where you're just taking it like your foot off the gas, you're gonna be done really quickly. But so now I try to keep my mindset just like really try to grind and get back to affiliated ball if possible.
No doubt. When you got released, how did that go? Like, how did you take that? That must have been kind of shitty.
Yeah, it's tough just because personally I don't feel like it was right. So um, my situation was I got let go from the Wild Things. It was like 30 some at bats. Like that's not really
Right. Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Because your
So
bats had dropped dramatically the second year. You know.
yeah, yep. So then, but again, I at that time I was unexperienced, so I think I was like something for 20, something not good for like 25 or 35. So they let me go. I ended up latching on with another team, and I actually was just starting to really hit the ball really well. I hit a home run the game before I got released by them, but again, that one was kind of, in my opinion, a little messed up too. So I signed there with a coach, and 2 weeks after I was there, I think that coach got into a little trouble and got fired. Then they had
At
to
the
immediately hire a new
and
coach,
this is at
and
the
he
minor
was.
leagues.
This was with in the independent league.
Oh, okay, okay.
Um, this was with the Lake Erie Crushers. So the coach of the Lake Erie Crushers, got into some trouble, got fired. They had to hire a coach immediately because the season was only about halfway over. They brought in a coach who was a bench coach from a different team in the league called the Schaumburg Boomers. And with when he came in, he brought in like 3 or 4 guys from that team. And one of his guys he brought in was a first baseman. Called me in the office before he even coached a game. I think it was like the day before we had an off day when this all happened, and he called me in on the off day and kind of told me I was done. But it stings a little bit. It's like, um, I mean, it's tough because you've been doing it your whole life, so it's definitely stings a little bit, and you
Yeah.
lose a little bit of you. But it really teaches you about life and adversity. So as long as you apply the lessons you learn, you can kind of learn to have a new identity and kind of get past it.
Yeah.
There's a
Facts,
saying.
man.
It's a funny saying. And it's kind of true. To forget who it was, but they say athletes have two funerals: one when they're done playing, and then obviously when your time's up. So it's true. I mean, you really have to find yourself, and some people struggle with it, some don't.
Yeah. No doubt. I was gonna say, man, fuck those guys, cause that whole thing with the fucking minor league shit it's still fucking mind blowing, but
Yeah, it's really
it's
cutthroat, man.
crazy, dude. So how does that go? Like they just like is it they just call you in a room and they're like you're done? Do they give you like a courtesy conversation? How does that kind of go when you get cut or released, I should say?
So with the Marlins, they called me in, and they kind of just explained, oh, we're sorry. So a little bit of my issue with the Marlins was I had a little bit of battle with the yips, and that was part of why I got released too. I don't know if you heard of the yips.
Nah, what is
Um,
I don't think so, no.
it's like that mental block when you're throwing,
Oh,
like,
okay.
and you can't control your throw. So we had a spring training game my second season, and I had a tailor-made double play ball hit to me, and for whatever reason, there was I never really got like this before. There was a ton of the big league scouts in the stadiums watching and like taking notes. And I just remember that I fielded this ball, went to pick it up and throw it to second base to turn a double play. And it was just like the weirdest feeling. It felt like somebody was like holding my arm right here and I couldn't finish my throw. And I
What?
threw this ball so far into left field in front of all these scouts. And from that moment on, I kept getting that feeling every time I would pick up a ball and throw, and I couldn't get past it. So that's part of why my second season with the Marlins, I didn't advance a level. I stayed back in what they call extended spring training
Hmm.
because they wanted me to try to work out that throwing thing. Then when I finally extended spring training was over, and I still really wasn't over my throwing thing, I was probably like a 30-40% success rate, which was better than zero, but it's
Yeah.
still terrible and not serviceable in minor league baseball. So they sent me back to that short season, which starts in like July, and that's why I went back to the same level. And then once I was there, this was before the NL had a DH, remember?
Oh yes.
So like I said, it was a different era then still, even though it was only like 10 years ago. So I'm there and I'm struggling a little bit playing once every 3 or 4 days because I can't throw and there's no DH. So that was part of what they said when they called me, and that's how I'm kind of looping this all back.
Right. Right.
In the meeting, they said, hey, it's a National League team. We don't have a DH. Your throwing's still a little bit of an issue. Um,
Can't do
mm,
anything. Yeah.
yeah, so and they actually offered me a spot coaching, but I at that point I was like so like I said, I did not have the wrong mindset or the right mindset then. I was so like, oh F you guys, I'm not done. Like I'm gonna go play somewhere else right away in affiliated ball and just yeah,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
not happy. I was not a happy camper. So
No doubt.
um yeah, but that's kind of how it goes. And then with the Frontier League thing, it was kind of the same. Like they definitely feel a little bad for you because they know um, they're ending your career temporarily. So
Right.
it's not like they're laughing or whatever. So, but even at the Frontier League, the independent team, uh, called me in pretty much just explaining like the contract thing. He was like, you're on an experienced contract. He said, it's not really anything personal. He's like,
Yeah. It's
I've seen you play before.
business.
I don't think these are your numbers, and I don't think these would be your numbers for a whole season. But right now, you're on an experienced deal. We got guys that are getting cut from pro ball right now that are better than you that we could pick up. He didn't say that, but
It's what it
like
is.
that's what
Yeah.
it is. Like
Right.
somebody
Right.
could have got cut from the Cardinals the night before I got released, and he was a third rounder.
Mm.
And if he wants to come play, I'm hitting 200 on an experienced deal. They're gonna cut. They're gonna let you go. So
Yeah. It's strictly business at the end of the day, man. Yeah.
yeah.
Facts.
So he explained that. And then the last one was just the guy was I I don't really want to say how I feel about that guy.
No.
I don't
Yeah. You're
know.
good. You're good.
I don't know what the podcast is rated, if it, what the language is here, but
Oh, it's. I mean,
he
it's whatever the hell you want to say. I guess it doesn't matter.
yeah, no, that was just he was like smug about it, and he was just a
Yeah.
huge prick about it. So
Yeah. Fuck
that
that
was
guy.
yeah, that was a douche. So
Yeah. The typical day in the life of a semi-pro baseball player, minor leagues. What does that look like? Like, can you describe that? I've always been like kind of interested of what that's all about.
yeah, there's two different I guess you could say like time periods. There's the spring training, and then once the regular season starts. So spring training, you are waking up 8, 7:38, getting breakfast. Bus from the hotel to the stadium is usually 8:45. You're there 9 o'clock. Usually 9:30 stretch. 9:30 to 10 base running. 10 to like 11, you're doing throwing, fielding. Um, Within the fielding, you're doing individual drills for a short period of time. And then you all come together for the end of that defensive session and do a full team
Hmm.
defense, is what they call it, where you're going over like double plays, first and third plays, force plays,
Hmm.
rundowns, etc. Pitchers covering first. Um, then once 11 o'clock's the 11 o'clock hours done, I'm sorry, 10 o'clock hours done. 11 to 12, you're hitting. That is, and they switch up the plan. They switch up what you do within those sessions every day. So like, you're not doing the same defensive drills every day for the individual time period and the team time period, or like you're not doing the same hitting drills every day.
Right.
So 11 to 12, you're doing hitting. Like I was saying, one day it could be off the machine. One day it could be just tee work. One day it could be drill work. One day it could be facing some pitcher who needs to throw a bullpen. 12 o'clock comes, you go inside, kind of relax for an hour, eat lunch, cool off. Some guys like to shower again. 1:30 starts, you go back out, stretch.
So you got like a
One
full day. Like it's no joke. Like your days are packed full of stuff.
in spring training, yeah. So then 2 o'clock comes around, you play a 10 inning game, spring training, and less the big, and unless you're a big leaguer, big leaguers play 9 innings, but minor leaguers play 10 inning games for the most part because they've got a certain amount of arms they want to get in and whatnot. Then
Right.
after that, you're showering and going home unless you have a lift after. Lifts were 3 days a week.
So would you say like
Then
so would you say like all the training and stuff that you're doing, you're saying like the different batting and fielding stuff, is it at such a higher level than like other like let's say like the independent if you compare it to independent and like high school, obviously college, like is it that much better? Is it different techniques? They're doing different targeted stuff that works better, or is it all kind of more the same, just different environment?
it's really, it's kind of like I was saying. It was just in from my experience, it was way more just repetitions. That's all it really was, and doing it every single day. Again, it was like information was gate kept or withheld, so you really had to be friends with like a big leaguer or a big league coach to get really good coaching. And
Mm,
obviously, that was hard to do because the big league coaches are working with the big leaguers, and the big leaguers are trying to make the 40-man roster. So like
right.
it again, it really wasn't much coaching. I really can't look back at anything I did with the Marlins and be like, man, they taught me this and it was awesome. Like
Really?
that's really not what happened. It was just a ton more repetition and more. They have more coaches, so you could get more reps in a shorter amount of time.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no real instruction, man, at all.
I feel like that would be the biggest misconception that one person like myself or any person that doesn't have any information about the minor leagues, that would be the biggest misconception ever. Like, what? You're telling me that they don't actually train you? They're not doing anything differently to make you better? Like, why did they even draft you then? You might as well have just did something else. Why even waste your
It's
time?
nuts.
You know?
And again, it's like that's my experience with the Marlins. It could be different with different organizations. Again, like we shared the complex with the Cardinals, and again, they were like the standard. So, like I had friends who over with the Cardinals that
And
they probably learned some stuff for
and they're like,
sure.
"Yo,
And
man, our coaches are great," and you're like, "What the fuck, dude?"
it was funny. Like it was just it was like it's so funny. It was like looking at what they did and what we did. It was like, why would we not just like copy what they're doing? Like just even as basic as like from or like three to five, where we're playing a full 9 inning game in the 97-degree heat in Florida. They're already done by then. They're inside chilling. It's like it's just why were you not looking at what they're doing? And maybe there's a reason why they're winning so much, and kind of
Right.
like copying a little bit. You share the same complex as them. That's what was so mind blowing to me. It was like we were literally doing everything opposite of them, almost like it seemed like just to spite them maybe or something. But like who was really winning at the end of the day? They were.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Y'all were on the same complex. Could you share the field? Like, were you maybe you weren't able to share the field? I don't know. Like,
So there's a ton of fields
so
at
you
the
could have.
complex.
Oh, I got you. It's just like a huge thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
So like half of it, I want to let's just like using direction. Like the north end was all the Cardinals fields, and like the south end was like all Marlins fields.
I got you. I got you. Dang, dude,
And we would
that's
play. That's what
crazy.
was cool though. We would play them almost every day.
Oh, oh, that's pretty
It
dope.
gave you like yeah, so like you weren't competing against like your buddies and all that. Like you were going against someone else. So
Yeah. Yo, that's insane though, man. That's I can't believe that. I feel like
it's nuts. And it
yeah,
could be different. Like, I really do think it's different now from what I'm seeing on social media and
I
like the
hope it
guys I still
is.
have some friends like they're like it's different now where like, I'm pretty sure they're getting coached up much better than what we were back in like the 2010, 2011, 2012, 2010 to 2015 I would say era. Like I said 16 is when it really all kind of it all changed.
Yeah. What advice could you give yourself, your younger self, when transitioning from college to pro ball? What would be one piece of advice that you'd give yourself?
Um, it's easy. It's your strength and your body's only going to take you so far. You really gotta. hone in on the mental approach and focus on the mental side of hitting. And that's what I would tell any young player, my young self. It's you really have to can't be stubborn. You got to be open mentally to adjust pitch to pitch and not get caught in your ways, even if you're having some success.
No doubt. I feel like that kind of mentality in general is not only good for sports or for you, but just anything you would do in life, right? Like, I think the key
That's
is,
why I love baseball. It's
yeah,
so easy. Like there's so many things in baseball that you can apply to the real world. You really can, and that's why I think it really is the best sport. There's just the main thing, like I said, is you fail 7 out of 10 times. Where it's like that's the reality of life, man. You could be doing everything and still just you get knocked down out there. So,
yeah,
whereas other sports, it's not like that. Like and football, you're not failing 70% of the time. Basketball, you're not failing. You're shooting 60-70% from the field
right,
if you're a
right.
pro.
Yeah, facts. You heard about that golden ball rule or something they're coming up? They're thinking about doing.
I didn't hear the golden ball rule. I think or the golden batter where
Oh,
you can
golden
put up like
batter. Yeah, yeah, that's what it is.
yeah. I think I don't know, man. It's funny because I hate like I like baseball. Like the tradition of it. So like the pitch clock, I was super against the idea, but I kind of like it now as a fan.
Yeah, I think it works out, man. Like it's a little smoother.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little quicker. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The first game I went to, it was like 2 years ago now. It was a Red Sox game when I was up in Rhode Island. The game was so fast. I was like, "Whoa,
Yeah,
this game is over already?" Like it really does make a big difference, man. I think
for sure.
I
Yeah,
I think it brings more fans to it too, because a lot of
I'm not gonna
people.
lie. It used to be brutal going to like a Phillies game in person because you're getting there at 7:30. You're not getting home till 11. You got to get up and go to school or work the next day. Now you're home. No joke by 9:30.
Yeah, it's so fast, dude.
7 o'clock start. You're home at 9:30.
Yeah,
Sometimes not.
yeah. That golden batter thing is weird. I like the challenge, like the pitching challenge. I'm interested to see
Yeah.
how like when they're gonna roll that out, because
Hmm.
that's only in the minor leagues. That's not yet in the major league. So I'm like, when the hell are they gonna do that? I think that'd be really cool.
I like that challenge thing, and I heard I was listening to it was on like some baseball podcast. I forget which one, but Tommy Pham, the outfielder, was on there, and he said he wants everyone to have one, and if you get it right, you get to keep going until you get it wrong. If you get it wrong, you lose it.
Mm.
Whereas I think now it's on. I don't know how many they're doing
I
now,
I think three
but
per inning,
okay,
something like
yeah,
that, and then but or you have maybe it's two per inning. It's something like that where you have it every inning, and then if
okay.
you get it wrong, you lose it. But if you get it right, like you said, you keep going.
Hmm.
Um, so I could be wrong on that, but I'm like almost certain it's something along those lines. But
Okay.
I don't know. I like it, man, because the umpires are super wishy washy, man. I
Yeah,
get.
and even now with the gambling and stuff,
Uh,
man, it's crazy. Like that dude Doug. Did you hear about that ump that just got fired recently?
no, what happened?
So, dude, this guy he called a perfect game. So, how are you familiar with the on Twitter how they have this company tweets it out after every game? It's an umpire report card, and it's not
Yes, those
just like
things
a
are
Twitter account.
fucking cool, man. I
Yeah,
love
it's
those
sick.
things.
So this dude Doug Eddings is like one of the only guys to ever get a perfect game, and he got it in like game 2 of the World Series this year. And he just got fired like 2 or 3 weeks ago because he was sharing a sportsbook account with somebody,
What?
and it was placed that the account was placing bets on Major League Baseball games.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So
So,
and they went to and they dug up like his report cards, and
but he
it's
was
insane
good.
because he was literally yeah, his it's crazy because he was I think a top 3 umpire, and he would have these like absolute clunker games where he would be like 82% and he's normally 96 to 100
Oh
like.
no.
So then it makes when you really go back and look at his report cards, and now you hear the gambling stuff.
So
It's
he
like,
got
oh
caught
shit.
red-handed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
hundred
yeah.
percent.
Dang,
They
dude.
wouldn't. They wouldn't just fire one their best. Like think about that dude Angel Hernandez, who's absolute ass, and they kept around for like 30 years. They
Yeah.
wouldn't fire their best umpire that
Angel
they got
Hernandez probably
if it
been
wasn't
betting for
serious.
years, bro.
He
He's
probably was,
yeah.
but it just shows you like it really has got to be serious for you to get fired
Yeah,
as an
dude.
umpire.
That's pretty wild, man. Dang.
Yeah, so like that's why I think there is something to be said about having the challenge system because I love that they're the human aspect of the game, and I
Right.
think that there still should be field umps to like make judgment calls because that is what kind of makes baseball baseball. But like with the gambling stuff now, and you really, I would rather like to see the right call. I think in that
Yeah,
situation
I
than
definitely agree. I think that's where
yeah,
my head was going too. Like, I like that, the human aspect of it, like you said. But I mean, at the end of the day, you can get both. You have the human making the calls, you give the batter the opportunity to challenge it, and
yep,
then that's that. And everyone wins. And the time that you made up with the time, the pitch clock, you're giving a little bit back with the challenge, but it's really quick. Like in the minor leagues
yeah, oh
games I
yeah.
go to,
It
it's
looks like
so
it's
fast.
mm-hmm.
So it takes literally 5 seconds. So it should not be a problem at all. Um, so what like so I started doing this podcasting. I appreciate you coming on, by the way.
Yeah, no
I
problem, man.
started I started doing this because I just kind of always wanted to do this in a weird way. Like I just wanted to kind of do some kind of podcast or like with the streaming stuff. Like I've always kind of been into that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's really like how like what do I want this podcast to be? Kind of like interesting conversation, but like I'd like someone to listen to it and maybe learn something and take something, put it in their toolbox to make themselves better. So with that being said, like you've I mean, I read you had some like good accolades in high school and like Florida and like your colleges and stuff. Like you were like top 5 type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Got drafted by the Marlins, which is awesome, dude. Like not many people can say that they've been drafted by a major league or professional team. What is the best advice that you could give to any aspiring young player who dreams to be playing at a higher level?
Um, the best piece of advice is definitely. It sounds cliche, but don't just don't give up, man. If that's what your dream is, keep going because, like I said, so much can change in baseball just from one season to another, one game to another. You could pick something could click for you in a game, and you could be a totally different player. Like just keep going. Don't let one bad game, one coach, one friend that's a hater stop you from going because at the end of the day, it only takes one scout to like you and one team to draft you. So just don't give up. If this is what you really want to do, just don't give up.
Fuck yeah, dude. I played little league a lot, and then I tried out for my high school team, but I decided to play handball instead. And
Handball's dope.
handball is mad fun. You play hand like
Mm-hmm.
like legit handball, like New York
Oh,
City handball, or are you talking
I
about
played.
handball like Olympic handball?
I'm talking like Olympic handball.
Oh,
Like
okay, okay.
I thought that's what you meant.
Nah,
What do you?
everyone.
What's the handball you're talking about?
So man, so like like you play paddleball or some racquetball or something like on the wall. Like in New York, they got parks, they got the big
Oh
walls.
yeah 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 yeah
Yeah,
yeah.
like that handball. It's funny
Okay,
because nobody really knows what handball is unless you're like from the north or or like California knows about it a little bit. Um,
gotcha.
but I played in one game in high school, just like a tryout, and I remember stepping up to the plate for the first time against like any kind of like person that throws harder than a freaking little leaguer. And that first pitch, bro, was a fastball, obviously, and I was like, holy shit, this is hard as fuck. Like it is no joke. Like you have to be focused, like hyper focused to see the ball even leave the dude's hand. Zooming in the plate. He pitched 4 pitches to me. I did not swing at one, and I took a walk. I took a walk,
There you
and
go.
I was like, all right. It like looked maybe like I knew what I was doing, but I was standing on first base like, what the fuck is going on, dude? Like so,
Yeah.
for you to even go through your entire like you did high school, all that stuff, and for you to have the success you've had is super impressive, man. It's fucking dope. So
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
yeah, it's legit. But man, we're about like hour 20 in on my time clock. Man, I got nothing else for you, bro. I'll give you your night back. Appreciate you
No
chatting
problem,
with
man.
me, brother.
No problem.
I'll cut this thing up and then I'll send you the link, dude. You check it out.
Oh yeah, I definitely will. Appreciate you having me, man, and best of luck with it.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.